the deadly 911 call that changed everything. A dimly lit living room at night. The phone rings abruptly on a small table. Detective Harris leans forward, tension visible on his face as he listens intently. Outside, shadows stretch across the street, and distant sirens wail. The camera zooms in on the phone, the red light blinking ominously. This call will change everything. The screen cuts to a close-up of a terrified young woman, Emily, whispering into the phone. "Please, someone help me, he's in the house." Her hands shake. The camera pans around the dark house, showing faint shadows moving across walls. Every creak and whisper builds suspense, leaving viewers on edge. Switch to Detective Harris in his car, sirens blaring, gripping the steering wheel tightly. He talks to dispatch. "We're on our way. Stay calm, stay on the line." The tension is palpable. Every second counts as the camera alternates between Harris speeding through empty streets and the shadowy, ominous house Emily called from. Nighttime in a quiet suburban street. Streetlights flicker. Shadows stretch across the pavement. A single house stands out, its living room light blinking faintly. Inside the house, Emily Carter is huddled in a corner, phone in hand. Her hands shake as she whispers into the receiver. "Please, someone help me, he's in the house." Close-up of the 911 operator, headset on, looking concerned. Her fingers move quickly over the keyboard as she tries to reassure Emily. Outside, Detective Harris's car speeds through the dark streets. Sirens blare, lights reflecting off wet asphalt. Harris grips the steering wheel, eyes fixed on the road. Cut back inside Emily's house. Shadows move across walls, flickering under dim lights. The camera pans slowly, showing the ominous signs of someone else in the house. Harris talks urgently to dispatch over the radio. "We're on our way. Keep her on the line. Stay calm." His face is tense, eyes scanning the streets as he drives. Emily glances toward the hallway. A faint silhouette appears, barely visible. She gasps quietly, holding the phone tightly against her ear. Close-up of the phone line indicator blinking red. The tension builds. The camera shakes slightly, simulating Emily's fear. Harris's car pulls up outside the house. Headlights cut through the darkness. He steps out quickly, radio in hand, scanning the perimeter. The front door of the house slowly creaks. Emily backs away, eyes wide, as the shadowed figure in the hallway moves closer. The scene ends on a close-up of the 911 phone light flickering ominously. Police lights flash outside the quiet house. Detective Harris stands at the front door, listening carefully before making any move. Harris slowly pushes the door open. It creaks loudly. The inside is dark, silent, and unsettling. Officer Perez steps in behind Harris, shining a flashlight across the room. Furniture is slightly out of place, as if someone moved in a hurry. Close-up of the floor, small muddy footprints lead deeper into the house. Harris notices them and signals Perez to stay alert. Upstairs, Emily hides inside a closet, holding her phone tightly. Her breathing is fast, and she tries to stay completely quiet. The 911 operator continues speaking softly through the phone. "Stay calm. Officers are inside your house now." Downstairs, Harris hears a faint sound, a floorboard creaking above. He looks up slowly, realizing someone is still inside. Perez whispers, "Did you hear that?" Harris nods, raising his hand to signal silence as they move toward the stairs. A shadow quickly passes across the upstairs hallway. It disappears before the flashlight beam can fully catch it. Harris and Perez reach the top of the stairs. The hallway is dark and silent, with doors slightly open, shadows stretching along the walls. Harris and Perez reach the top of the stairs. The hallway is dark and silent, with doors slightly open, shadows stretching along the walls. Harris slowly walks forward, flashlight scanning each door. Every step echoes, making the silence feel heavier. Inside the closet, Emily hears footsteps outside. She covers her mouth, trying not to make a sound, tears rolling down her face. The 911 operator whispers through the phone, "Stay hidden. Do not move. They are close." Emily nods silently. A door at the end of the hallway suddenly creaks open by itself. Harris and Perez freeze, aiming their flashlights toward it. Inside the room, the curtains move slightly, as if someone just passed by. The window is slightly open, letting in cold night air. Perez checks under the bed and behind furniture. The room looks empty, but something feels wrong. Back in the hallway, Harris notices faint scratch marks near one door, signs of forced movement or struggle. As Harris reaches for the door handle, a sudden noise comes from inside, a soft thud. He quickly signals Perez to be ready. Harris slowly opens the door, revealing a dark closet inside the room. The door creaks open, and a shadow shifts slightly from within. The tension peaks as they prepare to confront whoever is hiding. Harris slowly pulls open the closet door. The beam of his flashlight cuts through the darkness, revealing Emily crouched inside, shaking with fear. Emily gasps as the light hits her face. Harris lowers his voice gently. "You're safe now. We're here." Perez quickly checks the room, scanning every corner. "Clear," he says, but his tone is unsure. Emily steps out of the closet, still trembling, gripping her phone tightly. "He was here. I heard him. He's still inside." Harris kneels slightly, trying to calm her. "Did you see him?" Emily shakes her head, fear still in her eyes. A loud bang echoes from downstairs. All three freeze instantly. The tension snaps back into place. Harris signals Perez, his face serious. "Stay with her. I'll check it out." Perez nods, tightening his grip on his flashlight. Harris moves back into the hallway, walking quickly but carefully toward the stairs. The house feels even darker now. Downstairs, a chair is slowly rocking, as if it was just pushed. The front door remains closed, but something is clearly wrong. Harris hears a faint whisper behind him. He turns sharply, but the hallway is empty. The realization hits, the intruder is still moving inside the house, unseen. Harris stands still in the hallway, listening carefully. The house is silent again, but the feeling of being watched is stronger than ever. Downstairs, a faint sound echoes, a slow creak of wood. Harris tightens his grip and begins moving toward the stairs. Upstairs, Perez stays with Emily, guiding her to sit against the wall. She hugs her knees, still shaken, glancing at every shadow. The 911 call is still connected. The operator listens quietly, hearing distant footsteps through the line. Harris reaches the bottom of the stairs. His flashlight sweeps across the living room. Everything looks normal, too normal. Close-up of the rocking chair, it has stopped moving. Harris steps closer, noticing faint scratches on the floor beneath it. A sudden noise from the kitchen, a soft clink, like something lightly touched. Harris turns quickly toward the sound. He enters the kitchen slowly. A cabinet door is slightly open. He didn't leave it that way. Harris pulls the cabinet open. Nothing inside. But behind him, a shadow moves silently across the wall. Harris senses something and turns sharply, but the kitchen is empty. The realization hits him. The intruder is always just one step ahead, watching, waiting. Harris stands in the kitchen, turning slowly, his flashlight scanning every corner. The silence feels heavy, like something is about to happen. Upstairs, Emily suddenly hears a soft noise above the ceiling, like footsteps in the attic. Her eyes widen in fear. Perez looks up, confused. "Did you hear that?" Emily nods quickly, pointing toward the ceiling. The 911 operator hears the noise through the call and speaks calmly. "Stay together. Help is already inside." Downstairs, Harris pauses as he also hears the faint movement above him. He slowly raises his head, realizing the intruder may be in the attic. Harris moves toward the hallway, looking up at the small attic hatch in the ceiling. It's slightly open. A small piece of dust falls from the opening, drifting down in the beam of the flashlight. Something is definitely up there. Harris carefully drags a chair beneath the hatch. Every movement is slow and controlled. Upstairs, Perez moves Emily away from the center of the room, both of them staring nervously at the ceiling. Harris slowly pushes the attic hatch open. Darkness fills the space above, and for a brief moment, A faint shadow shifts inside before everything goes still again. Harris slowly lifts himself up into the attic, his flashlight cutting through thick darkness and floating dust. The attic is cramped and silent, filled with old boxes and covered furniture. Shadows stretch across the wooden beams. Harris pauses, listening carefully. A faint shifting sound comes from deeper inside the attic. Upstairs, Perez keeps his eyes on the attic hatch, waiting. Emily grips his arm, her fear growing. Harris steps forward cautiously. His foot creaks against the wooden floor, echoing loudly in the quiet space. The flashlight reveals disturbed dust on the floor, fresh footprints leading into the darkness. Harris follows the trail slowly. The beam of light shakes slightly, showing his growing tension. Suddenly, a loud noise behind him. A box falls over. Harris spins quickly, pointing his flashlight. Nothing is there, but the footprints he was following have stopped suddenly, as if whoever made them disappeared. A faint whisper echoes from somewhere in the attic, too soft to understand. Harris freezes, realizing the intruder is still close, hiding in the darkness around him. Harris stands still in the attic, flashlight shaking slightly as he listens to the faint whisper echoing around him. He turns slowly, scanning every corner. The shadows seem to move, but nothing is clearly visible. Upstairs, Perez calls out quietly, "Harris, do you see anything?" His voice echoes up through the open hatch. Harris responds in a low voice, "Stay where you are. He's up here somewhere." The attic grows silent again. Then, a faint creak comes from behind a stack of old boxes. Harris moves toward the sound, each step slow and careful. Dust rises with every movement. Suddenly, something drops from the ceiling behind him. Harris spins around quickly, flashlight flashing across empty space. At the same time, the attic hatch below slams shut loudly. Perez and Emily jump back in shock. Perez rushes to open the hatch, pulling hard, but it won't move. Something is blocking it from above. Back in the attic, Harris turns slowly, and for a brief moment, he sees a figure standing at the far end of the darkness, watching him before slipping out of sight again. Harris freezes in the attic, staring into the darkness where the figure just disappeared, his flashlight shaking slightly. Below, Perez struggles with the attic hatch, pulling hard. "It's stuck," he says, trying to force it open. Emily backs away slowly, her eyes fixed on the ceiling, fear building as she listens for any sound above. Back in the attic, Harris moves carefully toward the far end where he saw the figure. The silence feels heavy and unnatural. He reaches a corner filled with old boxes. One box slowly slides across the floor, as if pushed from the other side. Harris quickly shines his light behind the boxes. Nothing there. The space is empty, but the feeling of being watched remains. Suddenly, a loud thump shakes the attic floor. Dust falls through the ceiling into the room below. Perez looks up as the ceiling trembles slightly. "Harris, what's happening up there?" he calls out. Harris tries to respond, but his radio crackles with static. The connection begins to break. In the darkness behind Harris, a shadow slowly rises into view, silent and close, as if the intruder is now right behind him, unseen and waiting. Harris suddenly turns around, swinging his flashlight toward the shadow behind him, but there is nothing there. The attic is silent again. His breathing grows heavier as he slowly backs away, trying to stay calm while scanning every corner. Below, Perez steps back from the attic hatch, realizing it won't open. He looks at Emily, trying to stay composed. Emily whispers, "He's playing with us." Her voice trembles as she clutches her phone. The 911 operator hears the panic and speaks softly, trying to keep them focused. "Stay calm. Backup is on the way." In the attic, Harris hears a faint metallic click. He looks down and notices a thin wire stretched across the floor. He carefully follows the wire with his flashlight. It leads to a small device hidden behind a box. Harris crouches, studying the device, realizing the intruder has set up traps inside the house. Suddenly, a loud bang echoes from downstairs. The entire house seems to shake slightly. Harris looks toward the attic hatch, concern growing. Whatever just happened below has changed the situation, and the danger is no longer just above, it's everywhere. A loud bang echoes through the house. Perez and Emily flinch as the lights flicker briefly, casting moving shadows on the walls. Perez pulls Emily closer to the wall, trying to protect her. His eyes scan the room, alert and tense. The 911 operator's voice continues through the phone, calm but urgent. Stay together. Do not move unless necessary. Downstairs, a door slowly creaks open by itself. The darkness beyond it feels deeper than before. In the attic, Harris hears the noise below. He looks toward the hatch, concern growing. Harris moves quickly across the attic, carefully avoiding the wire he discovered, heading back toward the hatch. As he approaches, he tries to push the hatch open, but it still won't move. Something heavy is blocking it. Below, Perez hears faint movement coming from the staircase leading downstairs. Someone is moving again. A shadow slowly appears at the bottom of the stairs, barely visible in the dim light, then disappears just as quickly. Perez tightens his grip and whispers, "He's not in one place, he's everywhere." The realization hits. They are trapped inside a carefully planned situation, with no clear way out. Perez stands still, listening closely. The house is silent again, but the feeling of danger has only grown stronger. Emily grips her phone tightly, whispering, "He's watching us." Her eyes move nervously across the room. The 911 operator hears everything through the call and speaks calmly. "Stay where you are. Help is coming." Downstairs, a soft thud echoes, followed by the faint sound of a door slowly closing. Perez steps toward the hallway, carefully looking down the staircase. Shadows stretch across the walls, hiding what's below. In the attic, Harris tries again to push the hatch open. It shifts slightly this time, but something still blocks it from below. Harris pauses, then hears faint footsteps moving directly beneath him. Slow, controlled, deliberate. Back upstairs, Perez slowly backs away from the staircase as a shadow appears at the bottom again, this time lingering longer, as if the intruder is waiting to be seen. The shadow at the bottom of the stairs becomes clearer for a moment, then slowly steps back into darkness, as if inviting them to follow. Perez steadies himself, whispering to Emily, "Stay behind me." He takes a careful step toward the staircase. Emily hesitates, fear in her eyes, but follows slowly, keeping close behind Perez. The 911 operator listens silently, her voice calm. "Stay together. Do not rush." In the attic, Harris hears movement directly below him. He taps lightly on the floor, trying to signal Perez. Below, Perez hears the faint tapping and looks up, realizing Harris is directly above them. Suddenly, the lights flicker again, plunging the hallway into near darkness before coming back dimmer than before. At the bottom of the stairs, the shadow appears once more, this time standing still, waiting as the tension reaches a breaking point. Perez slowly steps down the staircase, each step creaking loudly in the silence. Emily follows closely behind, holding her breath. At the bottom of the stairs, the shadow stands still for a moment, then quickly disappears into the living room. Perez reaches the bottom and raises his flashlight, sweeping it across the room. The space looks empty, but something feels wrong. A sudden sound comes from the kitchen, a soft clink, like something being moved. Perez turns sharply toward the noise. Upstairs, the attic hatch shifts slightly. Harris pushes again, and this time it opens just a little, light breaking through from below. Back downstairs, Emily whispers, "He's trying to separate us." Her voice trembles as she looks around. Suddenly, a door slams shut somewhere in the house. The loud noise echoes, and everything goes silent again, just before the next move begins. The sound of the slamming door echoes through the house. Perez and Emily freeze, listening carefully as the silence returns. Perez slowly moves toward the kitchen, flashlight raised, every step cautious and controlled. Emily stays close behind him. The kitchen appears empty at first glance. Cabinets are slightly open, and a chair is pushed out as if someone just left. Upstairs, Harris finally forces the attic hatch open wider. He drops down quietly into the hallway, landing softly. Harris listens, hearing faint movement downstairs. He begins moving quickly but carefully toward the staircase. Back in the kitchen, Emily notices something on the counter, a small object placed neatly in the center, as if left on purpose. Perez steps closer to examine it, his face tense. The object seems out of place, like part of a bigger plan, and the realization hits. They're being guided, step by step, deeper into the intruder's control. Perez carefully picks up the small object from the kitchen counter. It's a simple device with a blinking light, placed deliberately in plain sight. Emily steps back nervously. "He wants you to find that." Her voice is low, filled with fear. Suddenly, the device emits a soft beep. Both of them freeze, staring at it, unsure of what it will do next. Upstairs, Harris reaches the top of the staircase and looks down, spotting Perez and Emily in the kitchen. Relief crosses his face for a brief moment. Harris starts moving down the stairs, but stops halfway as he notices something unusual, a thin line stretched across one of the steps, almost invisible. Harris raises his hand, signaling them to stop, his voice firm but controlled. "Don't move, it's another setup." The realization hits. They're walking through a carefully planned path, where every step could trigger something unexpected. Harris carefully steps over the thin line on the stairs, moving slowly to avoid triggering anything. His eyes remain locked on every step. Perez gently sets the blinking device back on the counter, choosing not to interfere with it. The soft beep continues, adding tension to the silence. Emily stands still, her eyes scanning the room. "He's watching us, waiting for us to make a mistake," she whispers. Harris reaches the bottom of the stairs and joins them in the kitchen. He keeps his voice low. "We don't follow his plan anymore. We control this." Suddenly, a faint sound comes from the hallway, a slow, deliberate step. All three turn toward the dark corridor. A figure appears briefly at the end of the hallway, standing still under the dim light, before stepping back into the shadows again, closer than ever, signaling that the final confrontation is near. The hallway is silent. Harris, Perez, and Emily stand still, watching the dark corridor where the figure just disappeared. Harris slowly steps forward, leading the way. His flashlight cuts through the darkness, revealing only empty walls and closed doors. A faint sound echoes, a soft movement just out of sight. Perez turns quickly, scanning behind them, making sure they are not surrounded. The lights flicker again, dimming for a moment. In that brief darkness, a shadow moves across the wall, closer than before. When the light steadies, the hallway appears empty again, but the feeling is clear. The intruder is right there, hidden in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal himself. The hallway grows still. Harris raises his hand, signaling everyone to stop. He senses that something is about to happen. A faint click echoes through the house. Suddenly, the lights flicker rapidly, and a low alarm begins to sound in the background. Doors in different parts of the house shift slightly, as if controlled from somewhere. The space feels like a maze closing in. At the far end of the hallway, the figure steps into view, standing calmly under the dim light, watching them without moving. Harris takes a slow step forward, steady and focused, as the others stand behind him. The distance between them and the figure shrinks, and the final moment is about to begin. The figure stands still at the end of the hallway, calm and unshaken. Harris steps forward slowly, his voice firm as he orders him to stop. For a brief moment, everything is silent. Then the figure raises his hands slightly, no longer hiding, as if the game has reached its end. Backup officers rush into the house from multiple directions, their presence breaking the tension and surrounding the hallway. The figure lowers his head slightly, no longer resisting, as Harris and the team move in carefully to take control of the situation. Outside, flashing lights fill the night. Harris stands quietly, looking back at the house, knowing that the deadly 911 call, and everything that followed, will stay with him forever.